In the legal world, there is a combination of forces that feed a corrupt and suffocating legal system for attorneys. Law schools, law professionals, judges, and even the firms themselves for whom you work create a system, a matrix, if you will, that is nothing like what you thought when you passed the bar exam. The purpose of this podcast is to help you escape this legal matrix, leading you out of the proverbial desert to be free of the bondage of the matrix. Hosted by Bryce D. Nyer, attorney at law with over 30 years experience in the trenches of civil and criminal litigation at the state, federal, and international levels. He's a highly accomplished and resourceful legal professional, a true master of his craft, and he's here to help you get your life back. Here's your host, Bryce D. Nyer.
All right. This is Bryce D. Nyer coming at you from Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of Fort Bragg, now quote Fort Liberty, but I am not going to call it Fort Liberty. It's always Fort Bragg to me, and it's another episode of Escape the Legal Matrix, an attorney's exodus from legal bondage. My voice is a little bit raspy today. This weather keeps changing. One day it's hot as hell. The next day, it's like the Arctic. So I don't get this whole weather thing. Global warming is a myth, especially today. But listen, this is what we're going to talk about today, because I know you're interested to know. We're going to talk about accountability, responsibility. And this is, to me, an extremely important topic. Very important topic. And why is it an important topic? Because in our country today, the United States of America, and of course, the rest of the world, everybody wants to blame somebody else for their lives being in chaos or their lives being a total wreck. And most people seem to think, at least what I see, and this is my opinion, that government should come save them and do everything for them. And therein lies the problem, right there. Because, see, government was never meant to solve your personal problems. That is not the purpose of government. The government has certain ministerial functions that, at least in this country, were to be contained and controlled by who? By you, the American public, the American citizen, by exercising your right to vote and to decide where this country would go or would not go. And in today's age, the world has just lost its ever-loving mind. It has gone from being accountable and being responsible to a bunch of frickin' whiners. And you're going to find this in the legal profession too, i.e. the legal matrix. That it's always somebody else's fault. I didn't get this done. I didn't meet this deadline. Blah, 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 blah. And I've done this in my life too. I have blamed people, blamed system, blamed a process. I blamed somebody in my life. And you know what? I came to this realization one day. I did. I came to a realization and I just kind of woke up. Yeah, I did. Just like that. I awakened one day. Let's hear it again. I was sitting there and voila, an idea came to my head. And what it was, hey, be accountable and responsible for what you do or what you fail to do. And when I was an Army officer, as a leader, that was the key thing. When I was in charge of soldiers, I was the one ultimately accountable for what my unit did or what my unit failed to do. You could not pass the buck. Excuse me. And in the legal profession, i.e. the legal matrix, you cannot pass the buck either. You have to be accountable and you have to be responsible for what you do or what you fail to do. And there are going to be times in this war of escaping the legal matrix that you have to look yourself in the mirror and you have to be accountable and you have to be responsible for where you're going with your life. And for many years, I just sat there and I used to complain and complain and complain. In fact, one of my best friends, she would call me the blue-eyed whiner because I have blue eyes. And I'm like, what does that mean? And she's like, look, man, all you do is whine and complain. You talk a good game, but you don't walk the talk. You talk about changing your life. You talk about doing this. You talk about doing that. And all you have is just a freaking checklist that's all you do. And you check off the same blocks that you did before. And I thought about that, and it was a harsh reality because actually I was driving back. I just spent the weekend with she and her husband up in the mountains and had a great time. And she's been one of my best friends and extremely talented in marketing and, creating businesses and just really, really smart. And so is her husband. And she said that to me on the cell phone as I was driving back from Virginia to North Carolina. And we were having this conversation and, it really struck home. I mean, it hurt. It was painful. And it was true because the changes that I wanted in my life, nobody else could do them for me. And she sat there and said, listen, man, I've heard this for years. You're saying the same thing. And it reminded me of Garrett J. White's book, Be the Man. He is the founder and CEO of Wake Up Warrior. And in his instruction and in his leadership and in his book, basically, he's saying if you're having the same conversations that you had 2 years ago, that's a problem. Now, I said a little bit more colorful language, but I'm not going to say the words I would really like to say here, but I should. But he's right. And my best friend and her husband are right. I did not take the steps necessary to be accountable and responsible to make the transformation in my life. And it has taken me a number of years, even with all the years of my experience of being an Army officer, being in logistics, working in intelligence, working in the law, leading to law firms, where I failed was at times to lead myself. And in order to lead yourself, you must be accountable and responsible, not to everybody else per se, but to yourself. See, accountability and responsibility begins at home, just like charity begins at home. You can't pass your accountability to yourself and your responsibilities to yourself to anybody else. It just doesn't work that way in life. It does not work that way at all. And you will find, just like for all of you that are thinking about going to law school, nobody's going to take the LSAT for you unless you cheat. And if you do that and you get caught, you're done. Okay? So you have to prepare for the LSAT. You have to study. You have to do the practice tests. You have to be accountable and responsible to do that, to take your LSAT. And in law school, you have to be accountable and responsible for doing the work, doing the academic work in order to graduate. And then the bar exam, you have to be accountable and responsible to sit down and prepare all those weeks for that 1 to 3 days, depending on which jurisdiction you're in, to take a rigorous exam, multiple guess, and then the essay portion, and pass it. Because nobody's going to do it for you. You have to do it. So, what I can say is in life, and especially those of you heading to whether you're working for state or federal agencies, or whether you're going to be an associate in a firm, or maybe you have enough courage and you're bold enough to own, open, operate, and lead your own law firm, at the end of the day, you're going to be accountable and responsible for everything that you do, everything you don't do. Everything. It's just like in the domains of body, being, balance, and business, and of course, fulfillment. I am accountable and responsible whether I work out, what my relationship is with God, my relationship with my loved ones, my friends, all that. And then I am accountable and responsible if my law firm succeeds or it fails on a daily basis. There is nobody else to go to. It's up to me. I can't sit here and blame my staff and blame blah. You may have reasons for stuff, but you really have no excuse. Now, reason might be like, the tornado, wreaked havoc in the city and destroyed my law firm. And okay, so you're going to be delayed in production. That's a reason. Okay, that's a reason. But if you still need to get work done and you still need to meet certain missions in life, you're not going to have excuses when you have the ability to do so. It's just like when I used to run track. It's like, look, somebody's going to come in first, and if you don't come in first, you're not the winner. Everybody's a loser. Like, oh, my feelings are hurt. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Because only one person is going to come in first. You may have a tie, and then you're going to have to run off, but only one person ultimately is going to be number one. It doesn't matter whether you're second and third place. It really doesn't matter. You're still a loser. You did not come in first place. And everybody wants a participation trophy. Well, here's a wake-up call. There is no participation trophy for life. There is no participation trophy practicing law. Okay? That just means you showed up. Big deal. At the end of the day, what did you do or what did you fail to do? These are the most important and better questions that you have to ask yourself in life and owning, opening, operating, leading your own law firm. And this is one of the key things I have learned the hard way in my life. So I want to impart on you now, as law students or brand new lawyers, you have to stand up and you have to look in the mirror every day and say, today, I am accountable and I am responsible for what I do or what I fail to do. If you don't do that, if you fail to do that, you will not rise as a king or queen in your kingdoms. And you will never open, own, operate, and lead your own law firms, because it all starts with that about accountability and responsibility. And that's where in this country, the United States of America, we have failed. We have failed miserably. Our U.S. Congress made up of, 435 members, then the U.S. Senate, another 50. The two bodies that make up the total U.S. Congress, House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate, they have failed miserably. They have not been accountable. They have not been responsible, and they've not been held accountable, and they've not been held responsible. They've been passing the buck and getting a pass year after year after year because nobody does anything. There's no consequences for their inaction. Because why? Because they're spending your money. It's not their money. If you were actually spend their personal money and take it out of their bank accounts and drain it to pay the over $34 trillion in debt, they might wake up. Or if you fired them and said, you're not getting any more benefits, you can't do this, there's no more salary, and we're removing you from office for your failures, it'd be a different story. In the private sector, in owning, operating, leading your own law firm, you don't make money, you die. You live in scarcity and your firm goes away. See, there's no money tree out back. And so when government gets so big that it's in everybody's lives, it's just doling out money, and somebody's got to pay this money back, that's irresponsible. That's not being accountable. That's just being stupid. And America has become the United States of stupid. And the reason we become the United States of stupid is because we are not holding ourselves accountable. We are not holding ourselves responsible personally and professionally. And therefore, we're not holding those that are so-called elected or appointed leaders accountable and responsible. And when we die, this is my belief, God's going to hold us accountable and responsible for what we did or failed to do. Now, if you don't believe in God, okay, fine. That's up to you. I do. And I try and remember that every day, and it scares the hell out of me. That's the reason why I say there's a phrase that scares the hell out of you. Because God should scare the hell out of you. Because the consequences of not doing what he says and not being accountable, not being responsible, can have eternal consequences that can be terrifying. But in this life, we have the opportunity to be accountable, and we have the opportunity to be responsible. Don't look at being accountable and responsible as a burden. Look at it as a gift. Because if you're in a position of leadership, that's a gift. To be a leader is a privilege. It is a gift. It is not a burden. It is not a burden. That means that somebody somewhere sees in you qualities and characteristics to lead an organization, to lead people, to lead them. From where? From the bondage that they're in to where? To the promised land, which could be anything. Here at Legal Warrior, where we're escaping the legal matrix, we're freeing you from being in legal bondage to the self-destructive patterns of behavior that the legal matrix causes in body, in being, in balance, in business, and fulfillment. But in order to do that, in order to be free, it goes back to what we started this conversation about today. And that's about personal accountability and personal responsibility. You've got to sit there and you've got to say it. It's got to sink in. The times that I did not hold myself accountable, that I did not hold myself responsible, my life became a train wreck. When I started on fitness programs and body, the minute I started going off path and not holding myself accountable and responsible, my body did not look good. I did not feel good. I was not fit. The minute in balance, where I did not hold myself accountable or responsible to make the time for myself or to really make the relationships in my life flourish, I lost them. I lost me. In being the times that I committed sins, that I broke the 10 Commandments, I did not hold myself accountable and responsible, and the fallout was egregious. If there's a thing called hell on earth, it exists. And in business, when I did not hold myself accountable and responsible to do what I needed to do, and I was living in scarcity, i.e. lack of money, it was my fault. My fault. Nobody else was to blame. Nobody made me do the things in my life that I did. And nobody makes you, unless you're holding a gun to your head or blackmailing you, or you're under such duress and coercion that somebody's forcing you to. But when you have the ability to exercise free will and you fail to hold yourself accountable and responsible in these domains, it's on you. It's not on the President of the United States. It's not on the Congress. It's not on anybody but you. We want to make our country great. We want it to flourish. We want our own lives to flourish. We cannot do that without accountability and responsibility. That's the glue that holds societies together. And when you become, how can I term this? When it becomes anarchy, when all your domains are in anarchy and chaos, you cannot possibly flourish. You cannot rise as a king or queen in building a kingdom. There's no way. Because the minute you have lawlessness and confusion and no clarity and no focus and you're operating in a fog of war, then it all falls apart. And that's the key thing. Accountability and responsibility are keys that will give you clarity and focus and direction and a path to the possibilities in all of these 5 domains that we talk about. Again, a body, being, balance, business, and fulfillment. And remember, there's a process you're going to go through, and you have to embrace the pain in the process in the 4 main domains of body, being, balance, and business in order to have what? In order to have fulfillment. This is why I keep going back to it. Accountability, responsibility, accountability, responsibility, accountability, responsibility. They're keys to a path of possibilities of greatness. And I have to go through this every day myself. I'm not asking any of you to do what I'm not having to do myself. And it's going to be a daily war. This holding yourself accountable, this holding yourself responsible, it is a daily war. It's a minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, month by month. It never ends. It's never ending. Self-accountability and responsibility is never ending. It does not go away, ever. It does not violate the rule against perpetuities under the law. And if any of you have taken real property law, which you're required to typically in law school, you understand what I'm talking about in this thing called the rule against perpetuities. Responsibility and accountability lives on forever. It does not die. It does not become extinct. It's becoming an endangered species in the form and in the terms of people are just letting it wither. And that's why their lives are in chaos. That's why they're living in scarcity. That's why their relationships suck. That's why their lives suck. That's why their businesses suck, because they suck. You have to have the accountability and responsibility. I want this message to hit home in this conversation that we're having. Because today, when I awakened, I thought about it. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. I've been thinking about it all morning, all day. Accountability, responsibility, accountability, responsibility. I have to make bold decisions and just do it. And the outcomes I'm accountable and responsible for. When you open, own, operate, and lead your own law firm, you're going to have to make some tough decisions about clients' cases, about your business, about your staff, and mainly about you. And at the end of the day, you're going to live with those decisions. And if you need to course correct and shift and transform, then that's what you do. I've done it. Again, as I've told you in some earlier conversations and episodes here, there came a time after many years, till in 2018 when I saw the video from Garrett J. White from Wake Up Warrior. I woke up. I realized I was not being accountable and I was not being responsible. And it wasn't to other people. It was to me. And that's why I hated me so much. I began to loathe myself and hate myself because I realized I'd gotten lost in the legal matrix. The legal matrix had consumed me so much with deadlines and insanity that I was living in a fog. And if you allow yourself to not be accountable and responsible, you're going to be lost in that fog too. And the legal matrix will consume you. It will take you to a place that you do not want to ever go. So you have to ask the better question. And you have to ask yourself, am I holding myself accountable? Am I holding myself responsible for what I do or what I fail to do? So where in your world right now today are you not holding yourself accountable? Where in your world right now today are you not holding yourself responsible? What are you doing that you should not do? What are you not doing that you should be doing? These are the good questions. These are not just the better, they're the best questions. These questions need to be answered. Don't wait till next week. Don't wait till next month. Don't wait till next year. See, when I have my conversations with you here, it makes me stay grounded. Because we're having these conversations, and then I'm going to make sure, I'm going to look and say, where am I not holding myself accountable? Or where am I not holding myself responsible? Because I can't lead anybody else if I can't lead myself. And there are some days all of us don't want to lead anybody. But here's one thing that's for sure. If you don't want to lead anybody else, that's a choice that you make, and that's fine. But the one person that you must lead is you. It's you. Okay, I want you to sit on that. I want you to think about it. And I want you to answer those questions. Where in your world are you not holding yourself accountable? Where in your world are you not holding yourself responsible? What should you be doing that you're not doing? And what are you not doing that you should be doing in these areas of accountability and responsibility? Okay, it's been a great session. So wherever you are in the world, this is Bryce and I from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Love and light, love and light. We're out of here.